Welcome to today's dose of spiritual goodness. So I have a question for you. Have any of you ever struggled with prayer? Have you ever struggled praying? I have. And this brought a lot of guilt into my life because I know better. I've been taught my whole life the importance of prayer. I sung that familiar hymn, Did You Think to Pray? It goes something like, oh, how praying rests the weary, prayer will change the night today. So when life gets dark and dreary, don't forget to pray. And I love that song. And I love it for many reasons, which I'll share with you in a minute. But I've experienced the power of prayer in my life and the blessings that come when I talk to my Heavenly Father. But a trial came years and years ago, and that trial caused me to be on my knees a lot, which is where we should be. But I prayed so hard for so long, and it took a long time for the answer to come. And I felt like how do I explain it? I felt like I kind of wore myself out. I just felt so worn out that I started to create a bad habit, and that habit was to just kind of check in with God. I forgot to really connect with Him daily. And it made me think of a story, actually a person in my life, and that was my grandma Hall. And she died when I was 8 years old, but I honestly have more memories of her than I do most people. And I actually feel her presence around me a lot. I feel her. I know she's watching over me. I know that she's near. And even though she passed away, she doesn't stop teaching me. And this example is the perfect example of that, because when I was really struggling with prayer and struggling with connecting to my Heavenly Father, I remember thinking about my grandma one day, and she was a lot of things. She was like this spicy, she wasn't loud, but she was just full of life. And she just made everybody smile. She had a lot of energy, and she had so much faith, like faith to move mountains kind of faith. And when my grandma prayed, you felt it. It was like you could feel it in your bones. When she prayed, I knew that she believed that God was listening. She knew He was listening and that He would answer. From lost keys to lost children, my grandma would pray and everything would be okay. And that's the kind of thing that my grandma taught me growing up. And I knew that. And I was thinking about her, and I was thinking about her funeral. And I remember standing up with all my cousins, and we sang the song, Did You Think to Pray? And as I was thinking about this and thinking about my grandma, I could hear the words. I heard this phrase, and the phrase was, Tamara, did you think to pray? And I just felt like it was my grandma kind of giving me a little nudge of like, come on now, you know better than this. So if you've ever struggled with prayer, if you've ever struggled with not praying, or, having the difficulty of just making that a habit in your life, you're not alone. Some of the greatest people I know have had this same struggle. You could be tired, right? Life's busy. There's a lot going on. You could feel too discouraged. Sometimes when we're so discouraged, we don't always go to our knees. We have feelings of being unworthy. Like we don't, God doesn't want to talk to us. We're just big screw ups, right? And how could He want to hear from me? Which is a lie. It's a lie. We can feel like, hey, we could do this on our own. We don't need anybody, right? There's a lot of pride sometimes involved. And sometimes we just feel like the heavens are closed and no one's listening. But that could not be further from the truth, because I know from personal experience that someone is listening. In fact, in the scriptures, in the Book of Mormon, in 2 Nephi, chapter 32, verse 8 through 9, it says, for if ye would hearken unto the spirit which teacheth a man to pray, you would know that ye must pray. For the evil spirit teacheth not a man to pray, but teacheth him that he must not pray. Dang him. Dang the adversary, right? But behold, I say unto you that ye must pray always and not faint, that ye must not perform anything unto the Lord, save in the first place ye shall pray unto the Father in the name of Christ, that He will consecrate thy performance unto thee, that thy performance may be for the welfare of thy soul. So Heavenly Father is telling us, He's saying, pray always. And I promise you that I will be there to help you. I will consecrate your performance, meaning I will dedicate and devote to helping you, that I will bless and sanctify you as you Try to go throughout your day and make your choices and live your life on this earth because I love you and I want to be there for you and I can bless you better than anyone. That's what he tells us. Our Heavenly Father loves us and no one can bless him like him. No one can bless us like he can. So no wonder the adversary wants to keep us from making that connection. I read something in the Bible dictionary years and years ago, and it really was life-changing for me. It opened my eyes to how important it is that I am talking to my Heavenly Father, that I'm not just checking in with him, but that I'm making that real connection to him. And it says, as soon as we learn the true relationship in which we stand toward God, namely that God is our Father and we are his children, then at once prayer becomes natural and instinctive on our part. Many of the so-called difficulties about prayer arise from forgetting this relationship. And don't get me wrong, this is a relationship that needs to be cultivated. It's something that if you do, if you try, if you practice, I promise you, you will feel that. You won't be able to not feel that connection. Heavenly Father won't be able to help himself because he wants to bless you. He's your Father. There is not one single person. There's not one other single person that loves you more than he does, that understands you better. In fact, when you go to pray, I want you to think about someone that really loves you, someone that really gets you, someone that understands you and would do anything for you, and then times that by infinity, because that is the love that your Heavenly Father has for you. And then when you're praying, I want you to think about him being your biggest fan, your biggest cheerleader, and your greatest ally. He is there and he wants to bless you. I love it because his name is Father. He is your Father. And the heavens will open. And I can testify of that because they've opened for me many, many times when you get on your knees and when you pray. So the other idea that I love is that you don't have to pray on your knees. And granted, there's something really reverent and sacred about being on your knees. And my favorite place is in my closet because I can close the door and be in there by myself or next, by my bed or whatever. But so on your knees is great, but you don't have to be on your knees. And that's what's so cool about talking to your Father in heaven is you can be driving in your car to work. You can be in the bathroom getting ready to go somewhere. You can be walking to school. You can pray anytime, anywhere. So the Bible dictionary goes on to say the object of prayer is not to change the will of God, but to secure for ourselves and for others blessings that God is already willing to grant. Now listen to this. He's already willing to grant, but are made conditional on our asking for them. We have to ask. He's waiting and wanting to bless our lives, but we have to ask. He cannot bless us properly if we're not willing to ask for his help. And it goes on. Blessings require some work or effort on our part before we can obtain them. Prayer is a form of work and is an appointed means for obtaining the highest of all blessings. I love that phrase. Highest of all blessings. Asking and praying is how we obtain the highest of all blessings. So, no wonder the adversary wants to keep us from going to our Heavenly Father. You know, in that verse in 2 Nephi 32:8, it says, an evil spirit teacheth a man not to pray. Because he knows that when you get on your knees, powerful things happen. The heavens open and there's a connection that's made and that we can obtain the highest of all blessings. So it's like, that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like when you create that wonderful habit of not just checking in, but to really connecting to your Father in heaven. So as my grandma said, don't forget to pray. Shama-Llama.